Hi, this is Doug Renstrom with ROI Training. In this video, you will learn to containerize your applications using Docker. You will learn to build Docker images using Docker commands, to run and manage containers, and to store your images in Docker Hub. Let's switch to the demo machine.
Okay, so this is demo 2 of a series of 8 demos on deploying applications to Kubernetes. To deploy an application to Kubernetes, the first thing you have to do is create a Docker image. In our case study here, we have 3 applications that we want to deploy: Database Initializer, the Events API, and the Events website. Each of these different programs is going to have its own Docker image. Now, the first step to creating a Docker image is creating a file called Docker file. So if I expand, say, Database Initializer and look into my source code, there's a file here, Docker file. If we click on the Docker file, then we'll see the commands that are used to create the Docker image for this particular application. Now, this is a Node.js application, so this Docker file is for Node.js. If you were writing an application in Python or Java or C# or some other language, you would have a similar file, but the commands would be slightly different. However, all the files do similar things. So if you look at the top of any Docker file, there's the from statement. So this is specifying the base image that I want to start with when I build my own Docker image. And this base image that I'm starting with already has Node.js installed. And then the second command here is telling Docker to copy my program into the base image that we've specified here. So in the base image, there's folder /app. So we're saying copy period. Period in Linux means the current folder. So it's saying copy the contents of the current folder into the /app folder of the image that we're building. And then this command, working directory /app. Think of that as like cding into this folder, but not on your machine, but inside the image. We're going to set that as our working directory, and then here we're going to run npm install. So that's a Node.js thing. I have to install my dependencies, so I'm going to do that there. And then to run the program, you would type node and then space server.js. So the last command here is just saying, when you are told to run, this is the command you use to start the application, right? So that builds the image, or this Docker file describes how we want the image to be built for this particular program. And then, so there's the database initializer, so we would need that. And then here's the Events API, and there's a Docker file there as well. And not surprisingly, the Docker file is exactly the same for that one. And then there's a third folder here, Events website, and same thing, right? There's another Docker file, and then there's a Docker file right here, which is the same. Now, in the website Docker file, I added just a couple commands here. So I just wanted to use this for testing. So I wanted to make sure while I was testing my automation that when I was redeploying everything, I was in fact redeploying everything. So I added an environment variable here. So that's a useful thing to know. I wanted an environment variable inside my image. So my environment variable is going to be called build time. And then I'm setting that equal to this value here, $build time. And then I'm passing the value as an argument here. So that's what this is saying. I'm creating an argument called build time, and then it's an argument that will be passed when we tell the image to be built, and then that value is then going to be used to set the environment variable right here. All right. So, but anyway, I guess the moral of the story is, for whatever language you're using, if you want to deploy your application to Kubernetes, you have to create a file whose name is Docker file, and that's going to be used to describe how you want your Docker application to be built. Now, when I want to build my image, then there's a command called docker build that'll build the image. Now, rather than typing all that in, I have that in a little cheat sheet here. But anyway, so here's the command that I want to use to build the image for the events website. So it's docker build, and then the minus t parameter. The t is for tag, right? So I'm going to tag the image or name the image. Now I'm going to give it this name here, drenstrom /events-web. Now drenstrom is the name of my Docker Hub ID, right? So what I'm going to do, so we're going to create the image, and then we're going to upload the image to Docker where it's going to be stored there. Once I upload it to Docker, then later on, I can pull it from there and then put it onto whatever Kubernetes cluster I want to run. So if I go to the website, hub.docker.com, notice I'm logged in right here, drenstrom, and then I have a number of different Docker images under my account, including this one right here. So it's drenstrom events web, and it says here, this was updated 3 days ago. So I'm going to rebuild that container now, and then I want to put it into Docker Hub. So again, it's going to be this command here, docker build, and then I'm going to give it this name, and then I'll specify the version number after that. So colon, and then whatever version you like. And in the case of this image, remember I have that build argument that I put in the Docker file right here. So I have an argument called build time. So I have to pass the value of that. So there's a parameter -- build arg. This is the name of my parameter, and I'm going to set that equal to the current date on my system. And then notice there's a space and a period. So first time I saw that, I was like, what is that, a mistake? No, the period means the current folder. So I'm going to run this command from the same folder, events website, and so this is the path to the Docker file. So let's see if we can do that. So let's grab this command right here, and we'll copy that to the clipboard, and let's make sure we're in the right folder. So it's cd events website ls. Remember, there's my Docker file right here, and I'm going to paste that command in and hit enter. So now we're on, so we're at the end, and it's successfully built. And then it successfully tagged my image right there. Now I can see, look, if I type Docker images, this will show me the images on my machine. And then notice here, this is the image that we just built, drenstrom events web version 1.0, and that was built 15 seconds ago. But now that's on my machine. I need to get that image up here into Docker Hub. So I want to replace this old one, which is 3 days old, with the new one that we just built. So let's see if we can do that. Or the command for doing that is docker push. So that's super simple. So I got that in my cheat sheet as well. So it's just docker push and then the name of the image that we just built. So let's do that. We'll paste that command in and hit enter, and now we're pushing everything up. So this command won't take long at all. So that is done. So let's go back here to our website and hit refresh. And now we have here drenstrom /events web, and this was updated just a few seconds ago. So that's my new version of my Docker image. So now anytime I want to make a change to my application, make the change and then update the Docker file. And then once you update the Docker file, then you can redeploy everything into the Kubernetes cluster that you've just created. So now the application is running in the Kubernetes cluster at this point. So let's see if we can do that. We'll make a change to the program, and then we'll redeploy everything. So let me start up another terminal window. And we'll type kubectl get services. Notice we have our events web service running here in Minikube. Now I want to test that out. So we'll type Minikube service events-web, and that'll create a tunnel to that service and open it in the browser. So here we go. So this is my application, pretty good events app, and then here's our pet show, and then we can like that or whatever we want to do. Now let's say we get some feedback and somebody doesn't like our message up here, pretty good events app, and they say, oh, this is not a pretty good events app, this is a really good events app, so I think you should change the name of it. So we'll make that change, and then we'll see if we can redeploy all that. So let's go back into our program. So here's my events website, and then under views and layouts and default, we'll find that message right here. So this is where we're getting that message. So we're going to change that to really good events app, exclamation point. And now we want to redeploy the whole thing. Now, how do I redeploy the whole thing? We have to rebuild the Docker image and then upload the Docker image. And then we have to reapply our Kubernetes configuration, and then everything should be deployed. Now, I automated that. Just to make it easy to test. So up here in my automations folder, I have this little shell script, redeploy all. And this, again, this is super simple. So all I'm doing here is I'm saying kubectl delete, and then I'm going to delete my current configuration. So that'll remove the program. And then here, I'm building my 3 containers. So there's the API container. So I'm going to build that and then push it. And then here's my website container, and I'm going to build that and I'm going to push it as well. And then here's my database initializer container. So it would rebuild that and push that. So now we've pushed the new versions of the images up into Docker Hub, and then here I'm going to apply the configuration, and that should bring everything back down and then redeploy everything. So why don't we try to do that? So we've made our simple change here to the program. So let's go back to terminal. And let's go into our automations folder. So we'll go cd automation, and then we're going to run this thing, redeploy all. So bash space redeploy all, enter. So now let's take a look at what's going on. Notice here, the old program has been deleted, so give that a second. Now it's building the containers. So hopefully that won't take too long. Okay, so the images have been rebuilt and they've been uploaded to Docker Hub, and then it recreated my application. So now we'll do kubectl get pods. So now notice my pods are up and running, and they were just started 16 seconds ago. And now we'll type kubectl get services. So my services are running, and I want to test my events web app. So I'll type minikube service events-web, enter. Oops, got to spell it right. And again, that'll create a tunnel here, and now when we rerun the app, now we have our new version of our program. All right. Anyway, but the moral of the story is what? In order to deploy an application to Kubernetes, you have to first create the Docker images. To create the Docker images, you need to run the command docker build and then give your image a name. But before you can run docker build, you have to create that file called Docker file, and that will be created for each microservice that you want to deploy into your Kubernetes cluster. Okay, in the first couple of videos, we've been deploying our Kubernetes applications to Minikube, but we haven't really talked about Minikube in any detail yet. So come back for the next video and we'll talk about how you get Minikube installed and then up and running, and then start deploying your applications to it on your local developer machine. Thanks for watching. This is Doug Renstrom with ROI Training.